like there's a monster inside of me. I lock the door, but it still gets in. I feel like I'm trapped behind bars, slamming my head. The only way to feel better. Even when I listen to my monster, it only stops my pain and my suffering just for a little while. Then it starts over again and again. My head is overfilled with awful and truthful thoughts. What if you don't lock that door? See the crack on the pavement? That's your mother's death sentence. Every day I wake up and the cycle never stops. I start listening more and more. My monster, lock the door 5 times or your family dies. I hurry and lock the door, scared of what might happen if I don't. I wake up with my monster already having me do crazy orders. I wake up and try to get ready, but it's hard to get ready when you live with a monster. Hello, my name is Elise, and I have obsessive compulsive disorder with consequent Tourette syndrome. For a long time, my compulsions controlled my life. It's crazy how an enjoyable meal for some is to me a chore, how I have to count when I chew, or my brain won't be satisfied. My speech takes you on a journey of a man with OCD and how he goes through love and heartbreak with a woman who just doesn't understand. I used 4 poems named OCD by Neil Hilborn, Chase Conger, Lauren Ward, and Spencer Togles, as well as Corey, It's Only OCD by Madison Woodson, Bleeding OCD by S.K. Lincoln, Intrusive Memories by Sarah Edwards, and On Having a Boyfriend with OCD by Maggie Royer. This is Door Open, Lights On, a poetry program, because love should be unconditional. The first time I saw her, everything in my head went quiet. All the tics, all the constantly refreshing images just disappeared. When you have obsessive compulsive disorder, you don't really get quiet moments. Even in bed, I'm thinking, did I lock the door? Yes. Did I wash my hands? Yes. Did I lock the door? Yes. Did I wash my hands? Yes. But when I saw her, the only thing I could think about was the hairpin curve of her lips or the eyelash on her cheek, the eyelash on her cheek, the eyelash on her cheek. I knew I had to talk to her. I asked her out 6 times in 30 seconds. She said yes after the 3rd one, but none of them felt right, so I had to keep going. On our first date, I spent more time organizing my meal by color than I did eating it or talking to her. But she loved it. She loved that I had to kiss her 16 times or 24 times at different times of the day. She loved that it took me forever to walk home because there are lots of cracks on our sidewalk. When we moved in together, she said she felt safe, like no one would ever rob us because I definitely locked the door 18 times. I'd always watch her mouth when she talked, when she talked, when she talked, when she talked, when she said she loved me. Her mouth would curl at the edges. At night, she'd lay in bed and watch me turn the lights on and off and on and off and on and off and on and off, on and off, on and off, on and off, on and off. She'd close her eyes and imagine the days and nights were passing in front of her. In that moment, I just kiss your sweet wine lips with all my heart because I love you. I run my fingers through your mahogany hair and lay my lips on yours just 4 more times because I love you. Honey, you're so patient while you wait for me to perfectly brush my teeth. 4 minutes, 44 circles, 4 cycles. Honey, you're so perfect, so let me kiss you 4 times. Though, I'd rather kiss you 44 times. Better yet, let me kiss you 444 times because I really do love you. He was always turning the oven on and off, opening and closing the door, counting as he went. 37, 38, 39, 40. Eventually, I had to tell him that if he kept opening the door, we'd have a bunch of house intruders before the night was through. He responded by trying to kiss me, then he kissed me 23 times, then what's more for an even 24. Then he had to redo 2 of them because our mouths hadn't been aligned quite right. Needless to say, this involves some swooning on my part. Some nights I wake with the moon soaking the bedsheets, listening to him repeat the word crap over and over. He had stubbed his toe on the bathroom doorway, but couldn't stop swearing once he started. I fell asleep that night staring at my pillow until the floral pattern burned into my eyelids. He apologizes the next day. Said his new medication made him feel like shit, so he took himself off it. I responded, it was probably making you feel that way because it was working. 2 days later, an ambulance comes and takes him away. He'd accidentally cut one of his wrists chopping carrots for stew, but he couldn't just have 1 cut wrist. He had to have 2. My scars don't look like anyone else's. They're more careful, organized, precise, and exact. Not light, but never quite deep enough. Never deep enough. Never deep enough. Never deep enough. And I find it so beautiful, though not so much tragic. My scars are not chaotic like a car wreck. They are consistent like a comma. Proof that I was awake the whole time I was sleeping, that I could feel everything even though I could tell no one. No one that this unconscious, obsessive compulsion demands order, 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 and insists by instinct and intrinsic simplicity, still I will ever envy those gashes once gushing with surrender and serenity, each raised in rough, coarse collagen fiber to form a white flag, forever etched in flesh to tell the world that she was a slave to freedom. I am only a slave to myself. You come and visit me. Lock and lock, lock and lock, knock, knock. Hold on. Almost done. Lock and lock, lock and lock. Okay, 4 times. Come in. But then she says I was taking up too much of her time. That I couldn't kiss her goodbye so much because I was making her late for work. When she said that she loved me, her mouth was a straight line. When I stopped in front of a crack on the sidewalk, she just kept walking. Last week, she started sleeping at her mother's place. She told me that she shouldn't have let me get so attached to her, that this whole thing was a mistake. But how can it be a mistake if I don't have to wash my hands after I touch her? And I know you think I'm insane. But just give me a moment to explain that these tiny ticks, they keep repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating, tapping that my heart is still beating, facts tearing through my mind. Can she see me slowly bleeding? Will this eventually strike me dead? As if I have a choice. As if my tiny voice can compare events. I cannot keep my wits. Thunder in my mind, constantly throwing fits. Instantly, it decides a horrific punishment. Unapologetic banishment because I didn't lock the door 3 times, because I didn't look back 8 times, because I didn't pause at the doorway. And I cannot keep my dread at bay. I'm beginning to look manic, but I cannot stop the panic that always ebbs and flows, and nobody really knows that it comes with even shame. And I hope it never shows that it's really only myself to blame. So I repeat over and over and over and over. Try to let myself go slower. Repeating actions I can't defend, wasting all this time I spend. You'd think I'm nearing the end. God, you'd think I learned the consequence. Because just when you think you're done, you step back, relax, and new compulsion. I remember the sweet smell of chocolate oatmeal cookies carried through the warm summer breeze of our loving home. Oh, I panicked if the gas from the oven would cause corruption, absolute destruction. If I don't check it's off 3 times, she will die, and I will be the reason she is not alive. I remember she went to the grocery store. I called her phone 4 times, thinking she died in some tragic car collide. But it's all in my mind. I remember the stains of colored markers in art class, imagining a life free from the clutches of an unknown God, controlling my every obsessive thought. I've never known the freedom of childlike immortality. Irrationality was my nationality, my whole identity. When could someone set me free? I remember I went to the doctors again. They could only give me 8 minutes that day. They have these circular and smiley faces, but none of them look like me. Please, God, tell me the face of the one that locks the door 3 times, kneels in the bathroom and cries, and thinks her girlfriend will die. Now I just think of who else is kissing her. I can't breathe because he only kisses her once. He doesn't care if it's perfect. I want her back so bad. I leave the door unlocked. I leave the lights on. Oh.